Yeah, good morning everyone, and we welcome Mr. Pragnesh Donga. Before the starting of this webinar, let me introduce Pragnesh Donga. It's my privilege to introduce today's speaker, Mr. Pragnesh Donga. Mr. Pragnesh Donga has done BPharm, MPharm from Faculty of Technology and Engineering, MS University of Vadodara, and he has also done MBA from Sikkim Manipal University, India. Mr. Pragnesh Donga has published many research articles in national and international journals and has also delivered a speech in many international conferences. In summary of his qualification and experience, let me tell you, he has got more than 15-year experience in pharmaceutical research and regulatory affairs. And starting from his career, he has joined as an quality assurance in Jubilant Biosys Limited. Then he has joined as a position of scientist 2 in Torrent Research Center, Ahmedabad. Then he was associated with as an research associate in BA Research Limited, Vadodara. Then after, currently is working in a regulatory affairs in charge in Zydus Research Center, Zydus Life Science Limited, Ahmedabad. So Mr. Pragnesh Donga is doing his coordination, planning, review, compilation and submission of IND, NDA, CTA and marketing application to India, US FDA and EMA. Mr. Pragnesh Donga has actively participated in TCOM meeting with US FDA and CDS CO. Mr. Pragnesh Donga has formulated global regulatory strategy and also implemented it. Mr. Pragnesh Donga is active member in review of QoS, non-clinical and clinical summaries and CMC section. Mr. Pragnesh Donga has got a very good knowledge in ICH, OECD, GLP, 21 CFR, NDCT rules, European regulation as well as pharmacovigilance. He has got expertise in preparation of regulatory strategy and submission of IND, CTA, NDA to global regulatory authority. So this is a short introduction. Today I'm going to deliver a talk on an overview of drug approval process. This is IND and NDA. Okay, Mr. Pragnesh, it's over to you. You may start.
Thank you, Dr. Jitendra, for very nice introduction. So I would like to thank Parul University and other coordinators for providing this opportunity, as well as I would like to thank Zydus and my seniors, Ms. Anjali Narkhade and Vipul Doshi for their supports. So today I have delivered a lecture on the overview of drug approval process. There are various stages in the process. So I will take two parts, IND, that is investigational new drug, and NDA, new drug approval or application. So in this presentation, the views and opinions are of myself, and it should not be considered the present advice or guidance on behalf of the Zydus Life Sciences Limited. So by seeing this picture, so anyone's mind, it's a drug like in form of injectable tablets, then suspension or drops. So what are the parts in the drug? So we can say there are mainly two parts. One is the active pharmaceutical ingredient as well as the excipient, by which combination of that it's make a drug. So as a pharmacist, you heard many times, like patients or some other your relative can ask, इसके कोई side effect तो नहीं होगी ना? First is that. Second is they will ask, any effect केवी हसे? बहुत सारी हसे ना? Drug is good or not? And third is sometimes they will ask about the quality. कि ये अच्छी कंपनी की तो है ना? Drug इसकी effect तो आएगी ना? So in general, it will divided into three parts. One is the safety, second is efficacy, and third one is the quality part. And according to that, the global regulatories and ICH has divided the pharmaceutical sectors in mainly three parts, that is quality, safety, and efficacy, as well as multidisciplinary. In that, it will include the regulatory and other parts. So how it will goes? How anyone know it is a drug is safe, effective, or has a good quality? So before going to that, like a drug comes into the market, there are many processes and ways and needs a regulatory approvals of specific country, like what in which we have to market it. So like every country has their own regulations, and we have to go through their regulations and generate those specific data. We have to file the dossiers to the regulatory authority for the approval, and after the approval we will get the permission to market the drug in specific country. So how innovators are deciding the drug is safe and effective? So there are a general pathway how drug is discovered and developed. So I think most of you are aware that first it will start with the drug discovery. In that, either the innovators will identify the target or based on the compound disease. So they will prepare the thousands of compound for the in drug discovery stage, and from that they will identify the hit, lead through various process. In that, they will include various modeling software as well as non-clinical animal model, pharmacology efficacy, as well as the ADME profile. So once drug passes through initial discovery and preclinical stage, just a moment. Yeah. So once drug is passes through this stage, it will further goes to the clinical stage. In clinical stage, it will mainly first part is the safety. So in general, it will be done on the human, healthy humans, volunteers, and then it will goes to the patient population phase 2 and phase 3. In each phase, there are various process and various stage. So it's not just as simple as like phase 1, 2, or 3. So the innovators are doing many trials, like 15 to 20 or more than that, as per the country specific requirement. And once these trials are complete and they found the positive results in terms of safety and efficacy, the innovators applied to the NDA submission in terms of US FDA, and after the NDA is submitted to regulatory authority, they will review all the documents, and based on that, they will take the decision for the approval of the drug. So what is IND? IND is considered as an investigational new drug. So because the drug is not approved in the market, so it's considered as an investigational new drug. So as I mentioned, there are various phases, like in phase 1, we can simply put it in a phase 1 to 3. But however, in phase 1, there are many studies which includes like a single ascending dose. So in general, the innovator starts with the small dose based on their safety data in toxicology animal studies, and then they will increase the dose to assess the safety of the drug in the human. So yeah, it's a single ascending dose, then it will goes to the multiple ascending dose, then food effect, as well as the gender effect. What is the difference between male, female? What is the drug behave? So once it complete these types of study, it will goes to the phase 2, that is control studies to evaluate the effectiveness of the drug. So in this, the patient population in which disease we are developing the drug, the specific patient populations are included, and the phase 2 studies are conducted in hospital setups, while phase 1 is in a clinical setup with a close monitoring of the patient. So in phase 1, like based on the duration of the study, in general, they will in-house the patient subjects in in-house unit during the dosing, like it's a single day or up to the 14 days. Subjects are in-house with the clinical unit, while in phase 2 it's a hospital, so patient take the drug and then they will take the drug to the home, and as per the protocol they will take drug. So in general, phase 2 has several hundreds of patients, while in phase 3, once you identify your drug is effective with a specific dose, so in phase 3, it's a higher number of patients from 100 to thousands, and it's expanded control and uncontrolled studies based on the type of drug. In addition, there are many studies during the IND phase, which includes the safety studies like hepatic impairment if patient's liver is there are some symptoms or something that liver is not normal. They have to identify how drugs affect with this kind of liver disease stage. Same as the renal impairment studies, and also identify the ADME profile through the radio label studies, as well as how drug impact on the heart through the QT interval studies. So various safety studies are also conducted as a part of the IND program. So what in general IND looks like, we have to submit the, before initiation of any trial in human, we have to take the regulatory authorities approval. We cannot done the study without the approval from the regulatory authority, as well as the what is the law on that country. So in terms of FDA, we have to file the IND before initiation of any clinical investigation in the human. So IND, the major content includes its investigator brochure, then the clinical protocol on what how we will do the study. That is defined, already defined. We are not deviating from the protocols in general. Then the CMC part, that is the API and drug product, what kind of API quality and drug formulation we are using for the clinical investigation. Then it's a pharmacology, pharmacokinetic and toxicology data to prove animal safety and efficacy, how the drug was effective in animal and how's the safe. So it's depend on the duration and type of investigation the data are required. Like it's up to the 2-year carcinogenicity study based on the investigation and any previous human experience if have, and also the any additional information as requested by FDA. So in general, IND is divided in 3 main modules. One is the quality, second is the non-clinical study reports, that is the animal pharmacology, safety pharmacology and toxicology part, and third is a clinical study report if available at the initial IND or later. So these 3 parts are summarized in the module 2, that is a quality overall summary, then non-clinical overview and summary, and clinical overview and summary. And the first one is a module 1, that is a country specific requirement. So we have to provide the detail as per the country's requirement. So in clinical investigation, IB is the important document with respect to the investigator's information. So investigator go through the IB and they evaluate the drug profile for their understanding. So it's mainly include the CMC, physical, chemical, pharmaceutical property, non-clinical study, which non-clinical pharmacology, PKPD studies and toxicology, as well as effects in human. So this will be added after the completion of phase 1 or any human experience. So in protocol, the clinical protocols are mainly outlined as the objective and purpose, what we are planning to do with the investigation and with volunteers, number of subjects, then what kind of subjects or volunteer we are plan to include, then dose and duration, safety assessment, then investigators detail, as well as that IRB or ethics committee information. In phase 2 and phase 3, there is a much detailed protocol. So in CMC part, like drugs API and drug product, so the innovator says to provide the description of drug substance, their physical, chemical or biological properties, then where we are manufacturing the drug, then general method of preparation, then its acceptable limit, their analytical methods for the identity, strength, quality, purity, and the stability. The stability is also a very important part. How? Because some investigations might longer and our drug is stable in that period or not, that we have to evaluate it. Similarly, the drug product list of components, their name and address of the manufacturer, manufacturing and packaging procedures, acceptable limits for the analytical methods, and its mainly the identity, strengths, and information sufficient to assure the product is stable during the clinical investigation. Also, the clinical investigation contains the placebo. It depends on the trial. So that part also we have to provide how placebo is manufactured and what is the quality of the placebo, as well as the labeling. So labeling mainly it's depend on the country specific requirement. So in next is the pharmacology and toxicology, the non-clinical information. So it's mainly contains the animal efficacy studies, that is a primary and secondary animal efficacy studies, as well as safety studies, and ADME profile, how drug is behave in the animal. After that, there is a safety evaluation through the toxicology studies that includes acute, subacute, and chronic toxicity. Its requirement depends on the duration of clinical investigation. Then test of drugs effect on the reproduction and the developing fetus. So mainly in the phase 2, this type of studies when we are enrolling the woman with the childbearing potential. In vitro studies and any special toxicology studies, if any. Then non-clinical safety and toxicology studies, all of these studies have GLP regulations. So should be conducted with the OECD guidelines or with the 21 CFR Part 58 as per the FDA regulation. In IND, the applicant also has to provide any data of foreign clinical trials, if available, data from other INDs, then published materials, and list of countries in which drug has been marketed, and list of countries where drug has been withdrawn from the marketing with any reason. So once IND is submitted, there are many post-submission activities and administrative action, which includes the protocol amendment, like due to any safety concerns or administrative reason, if protocol is amended, that has to provide it. Then information amendment, which includes any new non-clinical study reports or any new information in terms of clinical, non-clinical or CMC information. IND safety reports, if any safety adverse event or assays happen during the clinical investigation, there has to provide to the regulatory authority. Then annual updates on that part. Sponsor can also withdraw the IND if they found there is no purpose of developing this drug, or there is a toxicity or a safety concerns, as well as no effect of the drug. They can withdraw the IND. Then a clinical hold and request for modification based on the regulatory activities, then termination of IND, inactivation status, meeting, and dispute resolution. So various activities to be performed after filing of the IND. So how we submit the INDs or other documents to the US FDA and other regulatory authority. So as per the FDA's requirement, we have to compile the document in the eCTD format, and once documents are compiled, that innovator are submitting the data through the electronic format, that is a FDA's electronic submission gateway. So, and once FDA receive this data, they will evaluate for their are in their formats, are the documents are as per the FDA's requirement, and then they will start the review. So similarly, in India, we are submitting the data through the Sugam portal. There, and based on the Sugam's login credential. So once clinical investigation is complete and passes through the various phases of investigation, so we have to file a marketing authorization application. So because after completion, we have to show our intent to market the drug. So once all the phase is completed, the innovators are submit the marketing authorization. In marketing authorization, the innovators has to include all the data during the animal studies and clinical trials as well as CMC part in the NDA application. And after this, the FDA will start their validation and review activities, and it will take generally for half a year to 2 years timeline based on the data. And once approval received, product is going to the market. So once we file the NDA, there are many reviewers and many FDA experts are involved in the review process, which includes the clinical part. They will review the clinical data as well as clinical pharmacology data, then statistical evaluation, pharmacology evaluation, then CMC, quality and DSDP evaluation, toxicology and labeling requirement. And they will also consult the cross-functional team based on the data. So it will go through the rigorous process of the FDA review. So what during the review process, what regulators will evaluate? Like the main purpose to review the data are the benefits what we identified in the clinical investigations are more than the risk. So as you are aware that most of we said the allopathy drug has a side effects. So what are the benefits after getting this drug? So is it more? Then only the FDA will approve the drug. So after evaluation from the all the department, final they will evaluate the risk benefit of the new drug. The other part is once we submit the NDA, so US FDA will inspect the facility for the CMC evaluation, like how the facility where the API and drug products are manufactured, and they will evaluate the quality part of the drug as well as the label, which is the important part, and it's a brand name, that is a non-proprietary name, a proprietary name and non-proprietary name. So in terms of non-proprietary name, I just would like to discuss that in simply there are many drugs you heard atorvastatins as well as remdesivir recent due to the COVID scenario. So how the drug is named and how all the companies are using the same names, so that is a generic name that is like remdesivir or atorvastatin. So once any molecule comes into the clinical investigations, we can approach to the WHO for the name of the product, and based on its class of drug, the WHO, the innovators are suggesting few names, and WHO will evaluate those names, and after that they will finalize the name. So that is called as an INN name, International Non-Proprietary Name. So once drug is generic, any pharmaceutical company use those names for the market of the drug. Like remdesivir, so it is used by many companies while the brand name is different. Similarly, the atorvastatin. So the chemical entity name is done by the WHO. Before that, the innovators are using the code for the identification of the drug. So once FDA approves the drug, they will provide some data of the drug into the FDA website. So anyone can refer those data. That is a drugs@FDA. So they will provide the summaries of the all clinical, non-clinical as well pharmacology, CMC and other administrative activities. conducted during the review process, and they are uploading all the drug related data to the drugs at the FDA. So you can search any drugs related basic information and their how many studies, non-clinical as well as clinical studies they have conducted during their IND phase, you will find in the drugs at the FDA. This is the CDR's like FDS part. They have approved many drugs during the years. So in terms of new drug, they are approving on an average 43 novel drugs per year in last 10 years. So there are many new drugs are coming to the market because there are many unmet medical needs. Still, there are many diseases in which the innovations is required, and FDA are supporting to that innovation and approve the drug based on the risk benefit. So I think this is the brief, and I would like to thank the team for their coordination and support. So Dr. Jitendra, is there any questions? Dr. Jitendra? Am I audible?
Yeah. If anyone is having question, then one can ask. You can put in chat box. Okay, Pragnesh. The question will be said to you, right? So,
okay. The question from Meet Viradia. Efficacy study means, so what is efficacy study? So as I mentioned, you generally ask, are the drug is effective or not? Like if you are giving a paracetamol, it will give mainly for the fever and other anti-inflammatory action. So similarly, so how do you know that the drug is effective in the fever? So there are various efficacy studies are performed to identify is this drug is effective in the fever or not. Similarly, like other diseases, like I can say heart disease or blood pressure, if you are seeing the atorvastatin for the cholesterol part. So to identify drug is effective or not, it is called as a efficacy studies, and efficacy is mainly evaluated in the phase 2 and phase 3. So, is it okay, or do you not need more clarity on that part?
okay, Pragnesh, I'm audible?
Yes, Dr.
Yeah. Okay, Pragnesh, thank you very much for sharing your thought related to IND NDA application.
Thank you.
Excellent talk. And I hope so student or any other participant have got information. We'll see you soon. Thank you very much.
Thank you everyone.